assistance would be, there's something called program revenue, which show up at the top, and general revenue.
Right.
So chapter 70, because it's strictly tied to education,
Right.
that would show up as a program revenue. Police career incentive would show up as a program revenue for public safety. But just general additional assistance, which is not specific to any function of government, would show up down the bottom part as a general revenue. So interest, income, all these items down here are the type of general revenue. The big numbers are really the real estate, motor vehicle,
Right.
and
Yeah.
the cherry sheet numbers that aren't specific to.
Right, but just to make sure
Yep.
I'm grasping this, the 14,700,000 from operating grants and contributions
Yeah.
have nothing to do with real estate tax?
No,
Right,
nothing to do with real estate.
correct, okay, that was
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
question, okay.
sorry.
So do we add those three up, so it's like $48 million is what the
No,
school?
what you do is you
No.
take the 32 million,
Yeah,
subtract the 1.7 million,
okay,
subtract the 1.4 million, and so it's saying that's what it's costing you, $15 million.
from general government.
Yeah, it's, the school
Just doesn't
cost
tie in.
15.7.
See, that doesn't,
It's,
that doesn't
it's off
come
by
close.
about 6.5 to 7 million. That's, the
What's
school
off?
budget's about 22 million for,
So you guys can see it, I mean, it's probably.
that's what,
22 million?
yeah, that number, if it was more closer to 21, 22 million, it would make sense
But
to,
that's including all the grants.
no, I understand, but out of,
no, out of revenue,
Out of
town
revenue.
revenue.
we appropriate essentially 22 million to the school department.
Oh, but then, wait a minute, hold it, he's right though, because the chapter 70,
Yeah, the chapter 70.
70's in that
yeah,
number,
$6 to
okay.
$7 million.
All right, so,
Yeah,
okay, that makes
right,
sense.
That's right, okay, yeah.
But no, once you read it, then now I kind of understand why you're saying it's probably not the best report for us
It's not the best
to look
report.
at. But now that you explain it,
Over time.
I feel better
If
about
you
it.
look at it, over time, I mean, so like the first year, it doesn't make sense, but then the second year, you say,
Yeah.
well, that's growing way more
Right.
than the others
Right,
are
I
growing.
think we should look at the
That's how we
percentages.
could use, that's how it could be useful.
Yeah.
It's
Right.
much more, that's why I said, it's not a snapshot report.
No,
Yeah,
And,
okay.
but if we use those percentages and we track the percentages over
That's
time,
right.
it tells us a story.
That's right.
So we use the numbers to tell us stories.
Yeah.
That's really the
But
point.
the story's gonna be pretty much the same as the way we're tracking it anyway. I mean,
We should go back and look at it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
determine
it is, because if you take the 22 million, take out the chapter 70, you're gonna end up pretty darn close.
Yeah.
It decrease it by the revenue that's collected.
Yeah, it's just that we're used to looking at the budget sheet, our revenue sheet has got the chapter 70 and some of the state aid numbers in there, and it's
Right.
also got a lot of the town offsets in there. The school budget is presented minus their offsets, which are not chapter 70, but
Tuition reroll.
the
User fees, bus fees.
user fees and those kinds of things. And of course, the past year, the ARA and extra IDA money that
Right.
they've received.
Well,
It's
this is
actually
called
maybe a
an
better way to look at it.
entity-wide statement, they call it, isn't it?
Yeah.
Because it takes special revenue, and it's more to show, this is what the town as a whole shows.
Mhm.
It's not a budget basis.
No, I like it, now I understand it.
But I think it's kind of interesting.
Okay,
I didn't have anything else, but I'd be glad to discuss it, any detail you want with this, and if somebody would want to sit down and review these, by themselves, I'd be glad to do that. So it's a pretty detailed report.
what?
Can I ask
Oh, of course.
Tonight you said several times about documenting procedures,
Yep.
over and over, and even in your recommendations. As a company, and as a consulting firm, do you use the ISO standards in your internal organization? And should we use those as just as a reference and a guide for us?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea.
And is that what you use, the
Yeah.
ISO standards?
Somewhat. We're kind of small firm, so we do use them to some extent, but I can't say we're perfect.
No, I mean, and I don't think we should either. I mean,
Yeah.
it's a huge expense to go into it, but
Right.
it's good to use as a reference point for us, as a guidance to help us document, because I think document procedures are a wonderful thing.
Yep, and one of the things I was gonna mention that I hadn't gotten into the management letter, and came up more after the fact, was, something about, written information security programs. Like, there's something called a WISP that is required for commercial entities.
Right.
as of
I'm familiar
March-
with
that.
as of March. It specifically excludes cities and
Right.
towns.
Right.
Which I found rather
Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah,
Yep.
specifically excludes them. But I really think it's a good idea. I'll email some files over that I have. I have like something from Massachusetts for a small business guide for implementing a WISP. And,
Yeah, by the way, because I do IT for small businesses, we have that documentation we've been providing to our clients, which I can make available
Yeah.
too.
So I think that it's a best practice type of thing, even though it's not a required type of thing, so. The management letters I've done since this,
Mhm.
I've been recommending it, and,
For those that, board members that don't know, it's basically centered around the protection of personal information.
yeah. Anything that,
Personal information of employees and businesses, and even in the town of, you know, their customers and
and it
agents
defines,
that they do business with.
it defines personal information as anything that has a person's first name, first initial, last name, and social security number, license number,
Credit card number.
credit card number, anything like that. And they're pretty stringent, the requirements, if you abide by them in its entirety. I mean, I guess specifically excluded, but I mean, passwords, you know, documenting that your passwords are changed and, you know, on a continual basis, and, not just, and having somebody has to be appointed as the data security coordinator. He's the one that has to know, or she's the one that has to know when these passwords were changed and keep track of it. And,
Encryption of laptops.
yeah, yeah. So,
Any other questions for Dick? Thank you very much. And I guess if any board members come up with some questions or further
yeah,
review,
please.
forward them to me or to Greg, and
Just forward some electronic copy of this.
Oh, sure, I think we already did.
You did?
Yeah, but
I'd like to post a copy of it.
Does the finance committee get a copy of that?
We'll post a copy of it available on the website. We'll put it on the website.
Joe has them.
it'll be in a PDF form on the
We'll put it
website.
on the website on the PDF.
Excellent.
Great.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to see you.
Thanks for your help.
Always a pleasure.
Okay. Next item on our agenda, and we're holding to a reasonable timeline tonight. It's amazing.
It's early yet.
Meeting with the Secondary School Building Committee, and Mr. Chairman, you're on.
Can I have the podium out there by any chance?
Sure.
Can I run to the restroom?
Mind?
Yeah, absolutely. It'll take them a minute to get squared away.
Yeah, okay, there we go.
We'll take a minute or two while he's setting up for you, and one of our members took a little walk.
Newest member left already.
Texting, are you?
Me? No.
You heard about that incident? Somebody was texting. Big problem at the Selectmen's meeting
Oh, no. I didn't hear that.
5 months ago. Made the papers, so.
Oh, yeah?
Huh?
There he goes.
Chuck, you want to hit one of those lights?
Just the one on the audience side?
No, the other side. Yeah, that one out, this one on.
Okay, Chuck.
Okay, Mr. Chairman and the board, we are here to present a little update on the Secondary School Building Committee. And so that you understand, I'm gonna read the charge. The Secondary School Building Committee will carry out all phases of the building project at the middle and high school under the scope of the secondary school building project approved by the school committee, including MSBA, Massachusetts State Building Assistance Program, coordinated and related applications, design phase, construction phase of the project. And we have been working diligently with this, and we have a little slide program tonight to present to you, and then we'll take some questions afterwards. Greg Doble and Janine Ambriano are gonna present the program, so if Greg wants to come up, we will go from there.
Thanks, Chuck, and thanks for having us here tonight. Basically, this is going to be a project update, as Chuck described, and it's on the secondary schools for North Reading. And if you would, we'll definitely have time for questions at the end. The slides are numbered in the bottom, if you can read them. If not, we can always pull back a slide. So we'd love to go through it first and then come back with any questions you might have. Who we are. Basically, the Secondary Schools Building Committee reconvened in 2005 to address the changing needs of the high school and the middle school. The building committee is comprised of, and that's actually been updated since this slide was done, there's 11 voting members altogether. We used to have 7 voting members, and under the new state guidelines, there are additional people that we have to have on the board according to state regulations. So we have 21 total people involved. That includes 11 voting members. It also includes associate members as well as non-voting members from the school department. And Chuck Carucci is our chairman. Just a brief slide on the funding, and then we'll get into detail. Basically, the old way, you used to come up with your concept if you wanted to do a building project, and you'd submit it to the state, and you would hope for reimbursement after the buildings would be done, and you didn't know what your percentage was. The new way is that the School Building Authority established a totally new process. The reimbursement is known ahead of time, and they also pay as you go with the state reimbursement portion. There's some mandatory steps that we have to take under this new guidelines. Basically, it's a lot more structured, it's a lot more elaborate. There are things that we absolutely have to do in order to get reimbursement, and these things are taken in order. And basically, here's some mandatory steps that we have to do. First, and this is for any town, this is not specific to North Reading, this is any town that wants to submit a project to the new MSBA. You submit what's called a statement of interest, and then the MSBA selects you to move into the next stage. And there's currently 225 open projects in the state of Massachusetts, a little more than that. And they select between 15 and 20 a year to move forward to the next stage. The next portion is you determine the cost of the next stage, which is the feasibility study and schematic design stage. And I'll talk to that in a moment. And those are all checked off if you notice. The next portion that has a circle next to it is the town approval of this next stage, and we'll get into what the costing is in a bit. Upon that approval, you have to hire an owner's project manager and a design team, which is an architectural firm, to do the schematic portion. And then at the conclusion of this stage, at the conclusion of this next stage, we will know what the project will be. We're not allowed to guess at what the project's gonna be. We don't know if it's gonna be just a high school project. We don't know if it's gonna be high school and middle school. According to the state, we're not allowed to determine what that project is. This next phase has heavy state input as well as local input, and at the end of that stage, we'll know what our project is gonna be. From that point, once we get the thumbs up, easy for me to